A few years ago, when we started building VR hardware, we had a goal to build the best possible VR headset for big screen users who want to watch movies in social VR, for sim enthusiasts who are interested in sim racing or flight sim games, and for VRChat users to build the best possible headset for people who want to explore worlds in VRChat. And today, we're excited to announce a partnership with VRChat to build the Bigscreen Beyond VRChat Edition. The VRChat Edition comes in this beautiful atomic purple, a nostalgic nod to some of our favorite consumer electronics from years ago. The VRChat Edition also comes inside a beautiful box with custom designed artwork and some hidden Easter eggs. In the coming months, there's all sorts of interesting things we're doing with the VRChat Edition, including giveaways for VRChat Plus subscribers, and stickers, VRChat items, and even badges. And to talk about it, we have Tupper in the Big Screen office to go through the details of the VRChat Edition, interesting things about VR hardware that we love and don't love, and just chatting for a while about the VR industry. For the few who don't know, who are you and what do you do at VRChat?
You that don't know, okay. My name is Tupper. I work at VRChat as the head of community. Been there for, a long time.
Yeah.
6, 7, maybe 8 years at this point. It started in 2018, just a normal little, I played VRChat. I like VRChat.
Yep.
Then discovered you could work there.
And I imagine you started using VRChat well before you joined VRChat.
About 6 months before.
Nice.
Yeah. It was July 2017. A couple hundred users on.
Yep.
And actually, not even a couple hundred. That's like 40, 50. That's a wild weekend.
Yep.
But yeah, times have changed since then. Got hired and just kind of ran away with that. It was
Did you join before the memes and the virality, or was it after the memes?
January 3rd, 2018. So right in the middle of it.
Okay.
I think that was kind of the reason for getting hired. It was like, oh my gosh, look at the Gmail inbox. We got to get through this.
Yeah.
And resume was top of the stack, I guess. But they probably also liked me. Hopefully, maybe that's the case.
So joined VRChat in 2018, you said. Tell me about VRChat. Like what's on the roadmap? What's the evolution been like from 2018 to now?
Yeah.
Where are we going with VRChat?
So there's I always like to characterize these into like eras, right? And 2018 was the chaos era, I would say. And that's mostly just from the community and kind of how it's built up over time. And what kind of people actually occupied the space. 2018, like you mentioned, that's the memes. That's the stuff we all know. People going crazy, people trying things out, building new avatars, and just seeing what happens. Lots of content creators were made during this time. It was very much a furnace, I think, of that kind of stuff. Lots of VTubers now today are from that era. That's kind of where they got their start. But as far as the product itself, it was kind of, oh my God, let's keep this thing together. It was like pulling on the lashing rope and keeping everything together while the storm's going on. That was definitely the first couple of months while I was there.
Yeah. How big was the team at that point?
I think I was employee like 16 or 17, maybe. So a little, it was sizable. There'd been a couple of funding rounds up until that point, but I think once that hit, I hopped on just as the
rockets
the
hit.
dock. Yeah, exactly. But at that moment, a lot of the development was just basically keeping stuff going. And then we started finding focus over the years. We started discovering why people were using VRChat. And one of the big advantages is that a lot of the people that work at VRChat use VRChat, like a very, very large amount. And we came to understand, we had people that played VRChat that started working for VRChat, like myself and others. And we came to understand why people would get really engaged and stick around and wait, this person slept in VR, this person stuck around in VR for 24 hours. Why? How? What did you do? What was the reason? And as we came to understand that, we just kind of wanted to keep working in that direction.
Okay, so let's go back to your hardware history.
Okay.
And what are all the headsets you've tried since 2018? I mean, there've been quite a few big releases. When you joined in 2018, I'm guessing Quest wasn't out yet. I think Go was maybe coming out. I'm guessing VRChat never ran on the Go.
Ooh, good story. It did.
Really?
So when we were developing for the Quest 1, we had a build that worked on the go. Worked in the biggest quotation marks. That
At
you
what
can find.
frame rate?
I know. I never put it on my head. I can't imagine it was very good.
Yeah.
But it was good enough for us to send those out to some world creators so that they could build stuff. So it did work on the go, but we never released that build for better. It didn't run well. We did have, so let's see here. Of course, had the Vive. I did eventually like rebuy the Rift. So I had a Vive and a Rift, and then I used the Vive for a long time. That was the headset. And then the Index got announced. And I was in a VRChat world, like speed ordering it with a bunch of other people. Like, again, this is like, probably $10,000 worth of equipment being bought in this one VRChat instance. So got that, loved the Index, workhorse for the longest time. Tried a bunch of other headsets on the way. Like I had Quest 1, Quest 2, I have a Quest 3, have a Quest Pro. I don't have a 3S, but got the 3. Pimax 5K Plus. I think that's about it.
And are these all personal purchases, work purchases?
A lot of them are personal. One or two has been work. VRChat. I think they bought me Quest 2 and the Quest Pro.
Yep.
But aside from that, no, this is just me spending way too much money on VR as it goes.
There've been a few great hits in there. Quest 2, I would imagine, was probably the biggest, the big explosive moment.
It is
in 2020.
It's the Quest 2 is such an interesting headset, right? Like it is a technological marvel in a lot of ways, but relative to other headsets, it's not. It came out at a time where it was kind of like, it just was a great mark for all that kind of stuff. And they had just managed to come in just under the line on a lot of different hardware. And then, of course, they made it at the right price point, which I think was the winner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it ticked so many different boxes. Like the first thing that Quest 1, I think, had great tracking. Yeah. It was, 6DOF. It had great controllers, and it was standalone for the first time. We truly needed nothing else. It wasn't like Go, where it was, I mean, you don't even have two controllers. It was, way too
the remote, right?
The remote.
Yeah.
Quest 1 had all of the things, but it was severely underpowered.
It was
just that precursor and price, but Quest 2 just nailed, I think, that
it did
trifecta of all the things you kind of need just to get a lot of people into VR. That was a big moment, I think, for anyone making VR software. I think we all saw like this
exactly
rise.
It feels very like, I'm looking for analogies in my mind. The thing I'm thinking of is like the PlayStation 1. It just kept sticking around forever and ever. And we still support the Quest 2 today.
Sure.
Because there's tons of people still using them. It's still pretty good experience. It is starting to show its age. I think was it 6 gigs of memory? And that's both RAM and DRAM.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember if it's a 4 or 6, not 8. It's not a lot.
It's not a lot. Yeah. And those extra 2 gigs do make a big difference in the Quest 3.
Especially for VRChat with avatar textures and build textures.
That's that's them, that's not our avatars. But it's rough fitting into that, but still people chug through it. I know people that still use the Quest 2 as their PC connected headset today, just because it's a workhorse. Yeah. And also it's pretty easy to replace cost wise. So it's very popular with people like Dance.
Sure.
Because they destroy headsets.
Sure. So, and you need wireless for a lot of those use cases.
You do. That's I'm personally a Tether fan. I'm a big Tether fan, but I get why people want the wireless.
Okay, so let's start breaking things down. Of all these different headsets, non-big screen headsets in the past, and all the future headsets, including ones that you may or may not have access to, and so on. Right. Of all of these headsets, what are the things that have annoyed you, the things that you love? I feel like the wire is like a great starting point for that, because some people absolutely hate the wire. Some people absolutely love the wire.
Right.
Where do you fall in that?
So the reason I love the wire is because I hate the compression. And it's not even so much image quality, although that is a big part. It is the color space. That's for me specifically, right?
Okay, yeah. Usually 422 compressed.
Yeah, exactly. You smash it back down and you stretch it back out, and you can just see it's not even banding. It's just something about the perception of that color. Everything kind of mushes out. Sure. And then you wear, a headset like this one, and you get the contrast ratios, and everything just blasts you right in the face. It's like wearing the Vive for the first time. because the Vive had those nice OLEDs.
Yeah,
and
I remember those.
Yeah, and then putting that on and then putting the Rift on.
Yep.
Big difference. The Rift, of course, was arguably more comfortable, so some people went with that, but those screens were just
Sure.
incredible.
And I remember both were OLED, but there was still that subtle difference in Mura or
Exactly.
contrast.
You worked through the, I remember the original lenses on both of them were pretty rough, but you worked through the problems with the lenses on the Vive because the screens were just so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tether is just, for me, it's a non-negotiable. And then also, until lately, when I upgraded my Wi-Fi to a nice Ubiquiti setup, cost entirely too much. But now I don't have to worry about streaming stuff. I had to buy a separate router just for streaming.
Sure.
Which is like $150. And that's if I find it used. So not a huge fan.
Yeah. For me, I think it actually comes down to battery. Like the reason why I want wired is because of how much time does it take. If I want to use VR right now, do I have to charge something? Is it ready to go? Do I have to boot up something? Like the amount of time it takes for me to get into VR can be like clicking the VR button in SteamVR and just getting right in versus, all right, let me reboot this. Like, oh, there's an OS update. Oh, there's like my battery's a little low. Like, and that whole process is just quite a bit.
It's all about having, you have a whole other operating system to worry about, right? Like, not only do you have your PC running whatever you have running, now you have this headset that's running whatever you have running.
Right.
And ultimately, if you really pare it down, the headset needs to do two things: track its position and show me an image 90 times a second.
Yeah.
But still, like, that's ultimately what it needs to do. Anything else that it's doing there could be extra and it could be nice, but it's probably not worth it if that's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And if you can master those two things really well, then everything else that you can do without compromising on the mechanics that you got there is like, cool, great.
Yeah.
I'm glad you could do it. But
I feel like this is also the era in which we started to feel the pain of hardware. Yeah, it was that era of headsets that were the final PC VR native headsets, and then we were very much shifting by 2020 into the Quest era, the standalone era. At which point also I think the entire market thinned out. It really became the Quest and or I think at that point the Oculus Quest, I think still in 2020. And that was it. Yeah, like everything else, there's nothing from Valve at that point.
Yep.
HTC was putting out something here or there, but like there was nothing that was like a breakout hit that captured a lot of market share. I think Pico was starting to come out with some stuff.
They had their
frame.
Yeah, I think they had their that was Pico 2 time.
Yeah, they had a few things out there.
They were still finding their footing, and I think that is kind of a crossroads point, right? Like that's where the trade-off comes. Is if you mark this like as PC gaming and console gaming, it's always how I kind of like think about this, where you have the early 2000s where either you had the PS1, PS2, or you had the Nintendo or whatever, versus, as you can tell, I was a PC gamer at the time. I can't even remember what Nintendo consoles were out, but you had that trade-off, right? Like you can go mass market with the consoles, but you get the enthusiasts still sticking around, and still a huge market there, but they weren't as attractive, right? They're not as easy to pick up. You can't just pay your way into the market and then charge for the games on top of it. And that's, you can probably guess my attitude on, how this kind of got approached. From a business perspective, a genius move, right? Like you can't argue against that. Of course it was the right move. From an enthusiast perspective,
sure.
Yeah.
I've long felt like I think Meta actually made the right decisions with Quest and their focus on then, not making another PC headset. There was no Rift 2. Yeah. Right? That was all killed.
That was the Rift S.
There was a Rift S. I did like the Rift S.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. The Halo was quite good.
The Halo was pretty good. Shame about that microphone.
There were a lot of things. The Rift S very much felt like, let's make a cheap one. It felt you could feel the build quality.
Wasn't that the one that Lenovo did?
I believe so. Yeah. I think they even had the logo like actually on the device even.
Not to give them any crap, but there were some rough spots on that headset.
Yeah, it didn't have, I think, the love and attention that the CV1 got. The original Rift got, I think, all the love, and you could feel it in the build quality.
Absolutely.
And I think by the Rift S that started to go away. But the Quest line still felt quite robust.
Yeah.
But you can tell that shift, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think VR is in a much better place today with Quest existing.
Yeah.
But there was that, certainly we felt it on the big screen team, where we were looking at the market and seeing what we wished would exist. And there's, the weight kept getting heavier and heavier. Resolution wasn't really increasing very much. It was getting better, no doubt, but there were these interesting options that were just not being pursued. And it's just a very different direction that the entire industry was heading towards. It's pretty clear, I think, this entire past decade, that the ultimate end roadmap of all of this is augmented reality. It is even virtual reality, not for the scale that companies are chasing after, but in that chase that companies are making to get to that augmented reality form factor, the all-day wearable pair of glasses, we are leaving behind something pretty special and magical. We're leaving an entire market, entire enthusiast community that's using it regularly.
Right. I mean, that's what happens with this type of technology, right? I mean, you've got, there's versions of that all across technology where people kind of set up camp somewhere along the line. They're like, no, I like this. This is what I wanted the whole time.
Sure.
And I think VR is part of that. I think in the 10 to 15 scale, absolutely, that is the plan. Maybe I'll get the contacts version. We'll have that.
Yeah.
But I'll still want to come home and it's like, okay, I'm tired of looking at this reality. Let's make up a new one. And I sure hope that there'll be something in place for that isn't just a kind of a extra feature of another headset.
Yeah.
Which is what it feels like right now for some of these headsets.
Yeah, I think it just depends on whether you're chasing, cost, scale, accessibility, et cetera, versus chasing like ultimate fidelity or ultimate experience. And in 2019, 2020 was really when I think the ball started rolling for us building our own hardware. And it came down to like, what's our wish list, right? And for us, we really want to focus on weight and comfort because everything was getting heavier and heavier.
It was.
And we could see that technology could be significantly lighter, but it just wasn't very interesting. And we didn't actually want to go make it ourselves. When we reached out to people and said, would you go make this? Because our software business and our software user base kind of needs that. It would really benefit from something like this. And the answer was always like, yeah, we could, we've looked into it, but we're not going to, because everyone wanted to either chase Meta into building the next standalone, or Meta wanted to get to bigger scale with better standalones and so on. So that opportunity was just not being pursued. So like weight and form factor and comfort and ergonomics was kind of this afterthought, right? And then resolution was also this like, well, sure, but especially when you're focusing on just building standalones, you can't really drive resolution much higher, right? That the trade-off is just not worth it. 4K displays on a Quest 2's horsepower is just that just doesn't make any sense.
10 frames per second.
Exactly. Or you have a great display, but you actually subsample it, and you're not even taking advantage of the capabilities.
Exactly.
Resolution wasn't being pursued. OLED wasn't being pursued. The last great OLED devices, arguably, were in 2016. Yeah. Maybe the Quest 1. The Quest 1 was OLED, but really, I think it was the 2016 era that did OLED.
It was the first consumer generation, and then they kind of dropped it past there.
Yeah. And after that, we haven't really seen anything that touched OLED because everyone went fast LCD.
Yep.
So and to me, it was like you missed that immersion of OLED, and that entire era was just gone. And everything just felt different. So there's a few of these like kind of defining pillars. Are like, I wish someone would go make that.
Yeah. The reason why I'm laughing is because I keep thinking of this analogy I've used before, and I think the wireless is one version of this. OLED is another version of it, where someone comes up and invents the steam engine, and then it's like, wow, this is great. We have the steam engine. We can go so fast. And then someone comes along and says, yeah, but check out this rock. Oh, let's go back to rock. Like I have seen that happen several times for business reasons in the VR space, and it is very frustrating just every time. We'll talk about Lighthouse at some point.
That's another one.
I could already feel myself tensing up for that one. But
could you see yourself ever using a headset that's not OLED again?
If there's some other tech that comes out that's just like insane, maybe. But the contrast ratio just really is killer.
So why does that matter at all? Why does contrast ratio matter for VR?
Right. In a lot of situations, especially in VRChat specifically, people build experiences with very specific, like they craft the lighting, they craft the backgrounds, the textures and everything. People pay very close attention to that stuff. And if you have it all grayed out with like, an LCD or a poorly tuned, I don't even know what else panel, then it takes away from it. There's a lot of experience as well where you have pitch black and then something bright in front of it, like music visualizers and things like that. Those don't look that good on any other screen. And then you view it in an OLED and it's like, it explodes. It's completely different. It is a immersion changing kind of thing. And you don't really, you got to have headset on head. Like I can't explain it well enough. I can't explain it to the camera and tell you why this is important, but it is.
Yeah.
And when you see it the first time, you're like, whoa, okay, I get it.
Right. I mean, I think it's just even the color fidelity and
Yes.
particularly in those dark scenes, like does it feel like you're in a place or does it feel like you're watching a video game? You know, you're wearing a screen and especially in like those dark worlds, like it never gets pitch black on an LCD display, even whatever technology, fast LCD or like, you know, quantum dots type. There's so many different technologies that are trying to get close to OLED, but you kind of need that to have that sense of
You do, absolutely. I forgot another very important example, Half-Life Alyx. I played through Alyx completely on the Index, loved it, not OLED. And then I played it through on the Beyond, and I got about maybe 2 hours in, and it was like, no, this is terrifying. The scene specifically with the Combine soldier hanging down before you get the flashlight, I was like, I know what's gonna happen here. I'm done. I'm gonna go like listen to some relaxing music or, you know, watch some chill videos. I can't deal with this. It's just terrifying. Also, Beyond, I can't remember the name of it, but the Stalker-like game, dang it, I can't remember. It's very good, but they have the high contrast stuff for it. Beyond the Radius, Into the Radius. There we go. That's also horrifically terrifying with the OLED screens, and it's kind of just meh on anything else.
Sure.
And it's really hard to express why that is.
If I remember right, Into the Radius is the one where, or maybe it's, I don't remember if it was 1 or 2, it might have been number 2, where like some of the early scenes too, there's enormous contrast between, you're seeing like the regolith or whatever, the moon, and then you see the, you know, dark sky, the stars.
I haven't played that yet, but that would be a huge difference.
You know, it's like, okay, those are the specific moments you can see that night and day, you know, difference between portions of the scene. And it doesn't, you know, just connects a little bit more into tricking everybody and being like, okay, I'm just here in this world.
Right, exactly. And that is what I feel like the difference is. Actually, a lunar shot is a perfect one. Like I'm very much a space nerd, so I'm seeing, you know, some of these photos and you read about the contrast between dead space, no atmosphere, and then the regolith of the moon, and that is what it feels like. It's night and day, literally.
I'm not sure if we will ever make a headset. I feel like this is one of those things that I should be like, this is gonna be cited one day far in the future. I don't know if we'll ever make a headset that isn't OLED based. It just feels like that's the place where we can really push the bounds and like, you know, try something even further. Obviously, OLED and all of these technologies are significantly more expensive. Right, the displays on an LCD-based headset or a Quest or an Index or something are significantly cheaper. And when costs matter and you're trying to drive scale, that of course makes plenty of sense.
That's what you optimize for.
But there's just something about these OLED panels that just brings it all, you know, brings it all together.
Well, once you have it, it's you can't not. Everything else is just a compromise. So to go back to one of your earlier questions, I never thought we would actually make a wired headset. I never thought there were a bunch of these things that I didn't think we would end up doing, in part because wireless was the topic of 2020. It was just the answer.
It's
just like, duh, of course.
No one was making wired headsets after, you know, that period of time. It was just very much it was almost a faux pas. Like, when we talk to investors or others, they'd be like, ooh, wired, really? Like, there's no way this would go mainstream. We're like, well, that's kind of the point. We're not even trying to go mainstream. Like, if you want a mainstream headset, go buy a Quest. It's fantastic. So we want to build what was missing. You know, we want to build what we wanted. And originally setting out to it, you know, when everything's open, anything is possible. Wired was not the goal, but what we landed as like okay, this is a really smart decision. You know, we avoid the complexities and limitations of batteries and so on. So we went down that path, but we started with humble beginnings, knowing that we'd have to earn developer trust over time. We'd have to prove ourselves over time. We had to ship multiple generations repeatedly and build up the know-how. I mean, there's just so much experience we have now that we've shipped, you know, 2 generations of product rather than just one. While in this time frame, there's still people who are talking about wanting to do a headset or promising that a headset's coming and you've got nothing to show.
Yeah.
It's like you just learn a lot by just shipping.
Yeah.
So if we do this every year and we keep growing and we keep growing, I mean, some of the recent years we've been doubling or tripling. I think this year we might somewhere between like 4 to 6x just this year alone.
Wow.
So our growth rate's actually pretty fantastic.
No kidding.
When you fast forward from there, okay, one day in the near future, we likely will get to 1 million units sold in a year. That's now quite interesting for people who want to build a VR game and you want to have an audience that you really want to build for.
Yeah.
And our focus, I think, is going to be just that enthusiast market. The 1 million people out there who just passionately love VR and want to do something really interesting in it, whether it's VRChat or Bigscreen or others. When we first got started building hardware in 2019, 2020, we immediately defined like 3 focuses. That has never changed for like 6 years. And it was Bigscreen, VRChat, and sim racing.
Oh.
Those have been and will probably always be our 3 pillars of focus.
Right.
Because those were the things that we thought are the most interesting. And you could say maybe there's like a 4th, which is just gaming in general. Arguably, all 3 are gaming being a broad category, but also including things like first-person shooters or
I was going to say flight sims, but yeah.
Right, and sim. I should rephrase. Sim racing. Really, what I mean is the simulation category.
Right.
Flight sims and racing sims.
Farm simulator.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh hell yeah.
what was it? American truck simulators.
Oh yeah.
It's really fun. to just,
Yeah.
like, drive for an hour in a truck.
It's the urge of the dad. I get it.
So we early on defined like a simulation, VR chat,
Yeah.
and big screen movie watching as like the 3 pillar use cases.
Yep.
And we started with like, what would be the best possible headset for these use cases? What's missing? If you just want to nail those use cases alone and nothing else, what would that look like? And as you start to pull on that thread and sort of chasing scale or subsidized headsets or something, we just chase like, how do we make this the ultimate headset for people who care about just these use cases?
The obvious choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how we discovered, okay, actually being wired, as counter-intuitive as it may be, as non-mainstream as it may be, it has enormous advantages. Most people who use a Bigscreen Beyond, their average session time is longer than a Quest battery lasts.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely.
If we went wireless with a battery,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to use it very much.
Yeah, that's we've run into situations like that before as far as use cases like for standalone users. Engagement is almost always limited by the battery. I think that's an open secret. Like that's not really, super inside info, but that problem didn't exist on PCVR, at least for tethered.
Yeah.
Or if you're willing to wear yet another battery on the back of your head and swap it out.
Which some people are, but like now you're just going through these contortions to just, make something work
Yeah,
well.
I've also got 1.5 kilos on my neck, so that's great.
Yeah, no, thank you. Like one of our core beliefs is just people don't want to wear anything on their head. Like ideally VR is weightless,
Yeah.
right? Ideally it's 0 grams.
Right.
It's going to be a while before we get there, right?
Yeah,
From,
we
like,
gotta-
neuro implants or...
Yeah. And we got a couple of laws of physics to break first.
Yeah, I think maybe OpenBCI will get there at some point, but let's give them some time to cook.
Yeah.
But until then, we do want to minimize weight. That's the other portion where it's just like, everything's going the wrong direction. I think the CV1 was around like maybe 350 grams.
It wasn't, it was not heavy.
No, and everything got heavier and heavier. The index was like 700, 800.
It was,
It just, as ergonomic, I actually still think the index is exceptionally comfortable, relatively speaking. But still,
I think that was kind of where, if you think about it as like a gradient of weight versus acceptability, the index is where it just bounced right off for me, where it was like, okay, a gram heavier and I would hate this. But the features and everything that was, on it, when the audio, the audio was very nice. And the microphone.
Agreed. So microphone, that's a good segue.
Yeah. Surprisingly enough, I've discovered that VRChat's voice quality, like our network transmission rate, is pretty good compared to a lot of other applications. And that's just, framework or library that we use, the network traffic we assign to it, whatever. It's pretty dang good. So if you have a Quest 2 microphone, you can kind of tell, or God bless you if you've got a Rift S, you're going to sound like a robot about half the time. But then if you've got an index, you can really tell. Or if someone's on desktop mode and they're using, a nice XLR connected, super nice mic, it does make a difference. I don't think it's it's not going to make or break your experience, but like some other technology that we might talk about, it's not for you, it's for other people. And when you sound very good on your microphone and it matches up with the other microphones that hopefully are also, decent quality, there's this immersion of continuity, I think might be the way of putting it, between maybe you're talking to them on Discord and they sound the same, and then you talk to them in VRChat and they sound the same. So microphone is really important. Having something that doesn't feel like an afterthought. The reason I'm laughing is because there's a headset that I don't want to name. I don't want to bust through. But there have been headsets I've used where it literally is an afterthought, where it's like, oh crap, we got to put a mic in, and they shovel it in 4 inches off this way on the headset. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the areas that's the cost cutting also starts to affect.
Yeah.
But part of it is also, if you used it, it's actually really hard to tell when it's bad, right? Because microphones, it's other people in social VR experiencing you and their complaints and their experience that matters, right? Yeah. You don't get really any benefit out of having a fantastic pair of microphones on your own device. It doesn't affect your own personal usage.
Yeah.
But, not to name names, but when we talk to people in hardware in the early years, and we're like, hey, like this part's really bad and it's affecting our software, like, could you add these pop filters? Could you change the design here? Could you do something about this?
Right.
It's like 6 years later. It's just been inherited in everything that they've put out. It's like, but you could. It doesn't take very much.
Yep.
We poured a lot of energy into making sure that Beyond had microphones as good as the Index. That was the bar. The Index has always, in many categories actually, the Index has been the quality bar.
It has. That's kind of strange to think about for a headset at this point.
It really is. Yeah. But I think Valve had the passion and the budget and the time, the willingness to just, this might take a few years.
Yep.
Let's give it the time. Let's try to get it to that point.
Very Valve
time, right?
Yeah. That's how it goes.
Yep.
These things take time.
They do.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful. But they set a really high bar for microphones. We aspire to get to it, but we put a lot of engineering hours into just making sure, are we at that bar? Not just, does it have a microphone, but like, are we actually at that bar? Not for the spec sheet, but to actually meet that.
Right.
And it's frustrating. There's been plenty of devices where it has microphones. It has 2 of them maybe then, but.
Yeah. I've had conversations asking about microphone quality, and being told that, no, it's a very high quality microphone. It's very good. Go and listen to it in Audacity or Direct Listen or in VRChat. It's like, this ain't it.
Yeah.
Not at all. I
feel like it also makes a big difference in immersion, but in like kind of subtle, hard to pinpoint ways. Because we talk a lot about visual fidelity, right? And feeling like immersed in a world because it's OLED and got all the crisp details of everything and so on. But there's something I think about audio as well. In hearing a person who's in front of you virtually and feeling embodied that they're right where they are.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And there's spatial audio. There's multiple aspects of audio that affect your sense of immersion. But I feel like the fidelity of their voice, once you compress it down so much and once you start to hear too much of the other stuff that's going on, right? The room noises or just the compression on their own voice or the plosives or something.
Yeah.
Immediately, I feel like some portion of your brain knows.
Some of it pops out. Yeah.
You're talking to a microphone. I know you're not actually in front of me.
Exactly.
It might not be a conscious thing, but I feel like there's just something about that when you're in a world and it can pinpoint, who are the people who are just like, okay, could you move a little closer to your mic?
Yeah, like, exactly. I think for me, it's always the one where someone goes to adjust their mic and the thumb happens to hit on like the microphone's, really loud noise.
Yeah.
That is the one where you kind of, it snaps you, back to base reality for a moment. And that one, you can deal with it over time. Your VR legs extend to more than just not getting sick in VR. It's also kind of an immersion armor or padding a little bit. That is one of them. But having a good microphone can help, it's mitigation for that kind of thing.
Right.
And it's mitigation for other people, which is important. People will want to talk to you more if you have a good microphone. People will not want to talk to you if you have a bad microphone. Although if it's really bad, they will want to talk to you again because it's really funny. You know, we all want to talk to the guy with the Xbox mic, you know, with 7 fans going in the background and a barking dog. You know, that's classic.
And mom chatting out.
Yeah. Turns out loud is funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. We were going to start talking about this a little bit earlier. Okay. Let's start shifting gears into SteamVR. I think that's a fun next one.
Which part? Because you need to be very...
It's a controversial topic, SteamVR tracking. Let's talk about SteamVR tracking.
Okay.
Highly controversial. Lighthouse, base stations, camera tracking. This is, Lighthouse came in 26.
It would have been with the Vive.
With the original Vive.
Yep.
Base station 1.0.
Yep.
We've had a second iteration with base station 2.0 in the Index. Yep. There hasn't been much since then.
Right.
Let's see what comes out in the future about that topic.
Yep.
But as of right now, a lot of people are wondering, like, what, you might already be in the Lighthouse ecosystem. You might not yet be into it.
Yeah.
What do you thought overall? Like, base stations, why does it matter?
Yeah. I think, man, this is such a challenge because it's weird thinking about this technology that at this point is almost 6 years old. It's still the best. Like I've heard a lot of people talk about IMU only or crazy stuff like magnetic, field tracking, or there was that one ultrasonic one. That one was really cool. Completely didn't work. The problem is that every single person that you talk to, shout out SlimeVR, shout out, all these different people that are making amazing trackers and working on open stuff. You can build your own. But the end of the conversation is always trackers are the best, like Lighthouse trackers are the best. It's just, if you're going to be doing dancing or you're going to be moving, in a reasonably quick pace, or if you just want something that's accurate, that's the way you go. And this also goes for controllers, right? Like right now we've got, let's see, you've got the Quest 3, you got the Quest Pro kind of controllers. Those are the kind of the two main, non-SteamVR tracked controllers. So that's either Constellation tracked from the headset, or the controllers on their own are little computers you hold, which is still crazy to think about. That was a wild headset.
It's a marvel of technology.
It is.
I think that's a single camera on the controller, really tracks itself. It's basically a Quest in your hand.
It is, yeah. Mobile phone.
Amazing technology. And the price point you're able to achieve, just incredible.
I appreciate the Quest Pro for the tech it was. It still feels like a medieval torture device when I wear it. My head's shaped too weird. So Lighthouse is important because of that finality of fidelity. It is the end answer to anyone asking the question, what's the best tracking solution? It's still Lighthouse. It still is. You take IMUs, you take a stable frame of reference, something that stays the same no matter what. This is my physics brain talking. You need your stable frame of reference to reference back to. The IMUs are great for relative motion. You can't do that, just straight up all the time. You can try, and again, Slime's done a great job of that, but yeah, that's what frustrates me, is that we have this amazing solution in Lighthouse. It's good. It could be, I wrote this down earlier. Imagine a world where 2019 comes around, we had Lighthouse 2.0, but they keep going. And you have 3.0, and you have 4.0, and then all the hardware updates with it too, right? Like maybe Valve releases a tracker, maybe HTC releases a couple new iterations. The batteries could last 4 times as long by now, and it could track, just as well with maybe, only, I don't know, half the sensors or something along those lines. Or it could be doing remember that whole thing about transferring data across the pulses that never happened? So we could be doing something with that. But whatever happened. I don't want to blame the Quest, but that's a pretty big marker.
But I feel like ever since then, there actually hasn't been any competitive, like directly competitive one-for-one solution for full body tracking that isn't, a whole set of Tundra trackers and straps from EOZ to get you fully set up. And that kit hasn't, and that's what there really isn't anything else that fully meets the needs there. As expensive as it might be, or you have batteries still, or whatever it may be, it's still hard to beat that with just camera tracking or something.
Exactly.
Like that. Quest has IOBT.
Yep.
Still not quite to that point. And I feel like you can tell in social VR when you're looking at someone else, and you can tell the people who have no full body tracking, which I'll admit most of the time, nothing, because I'm lazy.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm optimizing for my own laziness.
Exactly.
But once you go deep down the rabbit hole, you're also optimizing for everyone else's experience and the expressiveness you want to communicate. And you can definitely tell when someone is kind of flailing around versus someone's like, oh, I can see exactly how you're sitting right now. I can see how you're dancing. I can see how you're moving.
There was a DJ at Shelter, shout out, Two-Tone, at the last event. This was like a week ago. And one of the DJs, I feel terrible for not remembering their name at the moment, but they were going complete. Who was it? Oh, okay. I'm not going to remember. But one of the DJs that they had on was going completely wild on the deck. So this is someone who is playing, music on their controller, with a VR headset on their head, and then also dancing at the same time, which is, not something that people usually do, but they were going wild. And the fidelity that they had, I was running it like 30 frames, right? Because of course it's a fully packed instance. It still looked just silky smooth because of that tracking fidelity. If they'd been wearing something else or doing, the IOBT, is that what it's called for the upper body? That wouldn't have worked. It would have just their IK would have folded around a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Anything else with Lighthouse tracking and why that matters for a VR headset, particularly in the enthusiast, $1,000 range, for VR chat, for racing, etc.
Right.
There's all these specific needs.
I think there's a bunch of different tangents you can go on, but it really comes down to one thing, and that is getting hardware off of the body, right? Like, if you think about it that way, the Beyond really focuses on, okay, we don't need onboard compute beyond, a couple little chips, smart little guys, don't need a battery. Well, you want to remove tracking away from the body as much as possible, because I've got to expend energy to move my body, and I'm very lazy. I don't want to expend energy. So if I can instead mount a tracker on my wall that handles that for me, then sure, I'll do that. There's a couple of new tracking technologies coming out that they are using outside in. So, camera, that's correct, right? Like cameras on the outside watching you, but they're using very powerful like FPGAs or AI specific stuff to train models to then track and then transmit back. Those look interesting. I still don't believe in them very much. I'm glad to be proven wrong. I love nothing more than being wrong in cases like this. So
fair enough. Okay, so let's talk about Beyond 1, how you got into it, what you loved about it, your wish list for it. Yeah. We'll talk about Beyond 2. So talk to me about your Beyond journey.
Right. So discovered the Beyond through probably, again, social media post or grapevine in VRChat. Bought into it. We're very excited about hardware at VRChat. We've got a channel for it. We talk about stuff all the time, headsets that, are being announced or maybe on the way for several years. Just talking about that kind of stuff. But posted about the Beyond and people started looking into it. We know about Bigscreen, of course we do. So it was just more of, I think the initial one was more of a shock of like, Bigscreen's doing a headset? Like, what? That's unusual.
Yeah.
But we got beyond that point, and a lot of the concern, I think is the right way to put it, is, there's not a lot of trust for headsets out of the blue.
Right.
That's happened a lot. There's been a lot of vaporware headsets and half vaporware. I have it in my hands, but it's not very good kind of thing.
Sure.
That was kind of the first hurdle to go over. But, we eventually got to talking at some point. I think you guys contacted me or contacted VRChat after, I was posting about it. That's what it was. Of course, doing what I do best on the internet, I posted. And we were talking about, on Twitter at the time, it was still called Twitter. We were talking about the big screen. We were talking about the Beyond rather. Would this be good? Is this another vaporware thing? And I got contacted, and I think you guys sent me one of the prototypes, I think, just kind of to prove it. And I remember I took it out of the box, and I had my index plugged in, because that's what I was using up until that point. Unplugged all that, put that back in, and I don't think I've plugged in the index again since then. That may have been the last day I used the index. It very good experience. The first world I went to was one of Mochi's Porter Robinson worlds, just to test out those OLEDs.
Yeah.
And holy shit.
Yep. And to me, that is like the coolest thing,
Yeah.
you know, you've said today to me, where I'm like, that was the bar. We wanted to get to the point where for some people out there in the world, not everyone, but for some people, could people say like, hey, I love this more than the index or as much as the index. That's such a high bar to hit. And that was our goal, like constantly, can we get to that point? What can we do to, you know?
For me, you hit it. Yeah. For me, that was it. It was the, I think it was in that moment, it was the lightweight too. Cause I mean, my index at that point, the Franken index, I think was up to like 1.1 kilos. I was just tired of it. My neck was too.
Yeah. So what did you love about the Beyond 1 and what did you want next?
Well, what I loved the most about it was, I'd say 3 or 4 things. The first one's the weight, just dead easy. If you're used to, you know, I guess Quest 3 or whatever, it's just night and day. And then of course the size as well is the second point. This just feels like swim goggles compared to an index. That's crazy. One of the tests I always do with people to show people that I'm actually wearing a Beyond is with an index controller on, I'll go like this in front of them, you know, very John Cena. And if you do that with an index on or a Quest 3, you're gonna bam, bam, you know, right against the headset. But Beyond, that's easy. It's fine. There's nothing there. Optics and screen, I'll put together into one. The optics in the Beyond 1, just as a preview, that is one of the things I wanted better on the Beyond 2. But they were pretty dang good. And the screens were incredible. The contrast ratio, again, I put that on. I saw that in, you know, some of Mochi's Worlds and Audio Orbs and Shelter and everywhere. And it was just, it's night and day, literally. And then finally, it's not the microphone itself. It's not the fact that the microphone is good, but it's the fact that how do I say this? It's not the fact that the microphone is good. It is the fact that you guys made the microphone good, I think is what's important. I've had so many different companies and headsets that I tried where it's like, oh, we have a great microphone. Yeah, sure, we put a great one on there. Get the headset. It sounds like garbage. But it didn't. It sounded just as good as the index. I don't know if it sounded better. I think everybody is contentious on that one, but just as good as a really good bar to hit for that. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I think the biggest hits for me personally were.
So when did you buy your Beyond 1?
Yeah.
Have you been using it since then? What's your journey been like from Beyond 1 to now?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. I switched out during the prototype phase, and then you guys sent me my retail one, the one I bought, and I plugged that in, and I used it until I received a prototype in the mail for the Beyond 2. So easy question.
Yeah.
I have used other headsets since then, just in passing. I have a Quest 3, you know, just for standalone testing and for whatever. Mostly to try out Steam Link rules, when I really wanted that to be good, and thank goodness it was. So shout out everybody at Valve that worked on that. And then Quest Pro as well. But that testing came later that I told you about. I had about a month of time that I tried it out while I was waiting on one of the Beyond 2 prototypes.
Nice. So what's then the wish list for what comes next? Like what would you have wanted out of a Beyond 2? Because I think when you and I first talked, just about like, we sent out a few prototypes to some people to test, people that we thought would have, you know, very high bar for being picky about every single, for nuances and to really assess the quality of something. Yeah. I think at some point I was like, hey, do you want to test something out? Like I'll just send you a thing, just let me know what you think. Right. What was your kind of expectation or dream wish list out of what would come out of a Beyond 2?
Right. I think there were a lot of the feedback for the Beyond 1 was pretty straightforward, pretty obvious stuff, right? Like people told you guys knew, you acknowledged it. So a lot of the easy answer here are, you know, optics or the IPD issue as well. But you've addressed both of those. And I think a lot of the assumption there is just, of course, you know, you would. If you're going to make a second one, address your big feedback points. And you did. I think what I wanted but didn't expect to actually happen was eye tracking. I've seen eye tracking setups. I've seen people build them for just various, you know, solutions, eye burning IR, you know, sensors or emitters, all kinds of stuff. That I didn't expect, but I'm very glad that it's there. I think I'm going to give you the one that I wanted but isn't there quite yet, which is face tracking.
Sure.
But there is a solution for that. You got some open source hackers out there that I heard you've been talking to. So
yeah, with Babel and others, like, there are ways to make face tracking work for sure.
Yeah.
But it's certainly a challenge to make a first party face tracking solution when there's just so little space.
Yeah.
I mean, especially once you start to consider cushions and how it fits in with everything else.
Yeah.
And one of the other things for us has always been every gram matters, our core design philosophy.
Yeah.
And if we're going to add something in here, it needs to be something that everyone who buys this is going to need it every time that they use it. So we try not to add any weight that everyone's going to, not necessarily need. But that's certainly something that we should look into for future generations.
Yeah, man, maybe. I think, funny enough, the people that we have on the team that aren't as big of a fan of the Beyond, for whatever reason, the one thing that they have acknowledged repeatedly is, okay, well, it doesn't, they focused on the goals, right? You said, every gram matters, and you stuck with it, even at the expense of addressing feedback like that. And I think that's important because you have a priority set forward, and if you don't stick to that, I mean, that's software terms, that's scope creep. I suppose that also works for hardware, right? Like It's the same thing, and you lose focus, you lose vision. Just realized those are both headset names, man.
But there's not that much options in
no,
creativity.
There really isn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's very important and very good that set a goal, stuck with it, because there is some slice of people out there where you match up with that. And if you stick with that, you're gonna grab them and hold them so hard they will never leave. They will never take the headset off.
One of my favorite things was people who bought the Beyond 1 or tried the Beyond 1. There are a lot of people who accepted the benefits and trade-offs of the optics and were like, okay, this is pretty amazing. And people, I think we had an exceptionally low complaint or return rate on the Beyond 1. People who, we weren't targeting mass scale, we were hyper-specific in who we focused on, and for those people, they just loved it.
Yep.
But people did have, they were like, I wish you could do better on the optics. I wish you could do better in glare or in edge clarity or this wish list of features. And remember the number of people that would say like, you should just add 30 more grams and make the optics bigger, and that would solve your problems. And we've done years and years and years of research on pancake optics, and that part's just always been funny. Where I'm like, well, yes, but you don't need to increase weight or make the lens physically bigger. That's not necessarily what gets you to
solution.
That, and ultimately Beyond 2 being significantly lighter, significantly larger field of view, better in like every measurable metric.
Yep.
While still reducing weight. That's one of my funniest. Like, I just loved getting to be able to pull out that hat trick.
Yeah, every number is green. Everything is up. Like, it's all better.
And it's like, what's the trade-off?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to buy a new headset.
Fair enough.
Oh no, you do have the upgrade program.
That's true. I really love that part too, because we saw that the Beyond 2 was coming. And it's still taking like everything takes just too long. Like, we wanted Beyond 2 out as early as we possibly could, and everything just takes, a couple more months. And but that being said, we knew Beyond 2 was right on the horizon. We're like, man, if you bought this for Christmas or you bought this in January, and a month later something else comes out, 2 months later something else comes out. That is just so unfortunate, especially if you've been saving up your money for the next thing. So the upgrade plan and telling people in advance, like, we're not shipping you a Beyond 1. We're just gonna upgrade you straight to the 2.
Yeah.
This is better for you. Like, we're not gonna do that to you. That was a fun one.
I remember reading people's messages in your Discord when you announced that, and someone said, "Holy shit, I'm getting Beyond 2." Like, that was very cool. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the cost that you're kind of paying with this, iterative approach, instead of, launching something and leaving it alone for 2 to 3 years. And then on the butt end of that, people suffer with a subpar headset.
Right.
So I don't know. There is a trade-off. I can't say which one's better.
Right.
I know what headset I'm wearing, so.
Fair enough. What's your experience been like testing the Beyond 2 prototype?
Right.
And what's your experience been like with eye tracking?
So the eye tracking in the Beyond 2 utilizes, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's using an AI model, essentially, to learn how my eyes move and then track that against the images that it's getting from the cameras. The very small cameras can confirm that they're itsy bitsy. So
the bar for eye tracking, just like how we talked about the bar for microphones was the index. Well, the bar for eye tracking has also been set.
Yes.
All right, there are a couple headsets out there that have eye tracking.
I think for me, the bar really for both eye tracking and face tracking is the Quest Pro, just because, I mean, I know there's like the Arrow, I know there's the HTC tracker, which I know people loved. But
Micro eye.
yeah, the Vive Pro Eye, of course, yeah. But really the one that kind of built everything together and is the most available, so most people see, is the Quest Pro. And it is dang good. It is quite good. So it'll be, you have your work cut out for you, but I also believe in you. So, yeah.
And there's more to talk about eye tracking in an upcoming video where we're going to get through everything about performance, what features to expect, how training your own AI model for using our software for your own eye tracking, how calibration works, where our software trains a AI model of your own pupil in order to do eye tracking, and how that works in concert with a generic model for eye tracking so that you don't have to go through a calibration process, how performance works, and how compatibility works. Because one of the really important things with eye tracking for Beyond 2, as well as for the VRChat Edition, is to make sure that eye tracking is compatible out of the box with the software you actually care about.
Yep.
Right. So when you buy the VRChat Edition, we want you to have an incredible experience with eye tracking in VRChat.
Yep.
So that requires, a lot of work that we put into like the VRCFT module and ensuring, does this pass through all of the data that's needed so that your avatar is expressing and emoting the way you actually are intending, and not conflicting with anything else you might be doing, like a Babel face tracker or something else.
Welcome to VRChat avatar creation. I'm glad that this was like your intro point, was figuring out how to get eye tracking working there.
And that's the thing about the Beyond 2 and about our VRChat Edition. It isn't like, eye tracking isn't a checkbox of like, we got cameras. Like, it's more of, there's an entire development in software and in software integration to ensure that the things you care about work really, really well.
Yep.
And that's the VRChat Edition. But I know people who are buying this device and buying the Beyond 2E, they also want eye tracking for other use cases like foveated rendering, for games like DCS or iRacing. And again, integrations really matter, performance matters, latency matters. So we want to make sure we nail each one of those aspects. And there's so much to be done with eye tracking in the coming weeks and months. So more on that real soon, because I know that's one of the areas that's gotten so much development. It's getting a lot of iteration on a daily basis, and there's not a lot of information out there just yet. There's a lot more to come real soon. So as people start to get their own headsets, as people start to try this out for their own, I think what's been really fun is there have been a few Bigscreen employees and a few, I think, VRChat employees who've been testing eye tracking with the Beyond 2 before the Beyond 2 was out publicly. So there were times where I had to tell people, I think there was actually a really notable moment in VRChat where a Bigscreen employee with a Beyond 2E with eye tracking was testing it out with their friends. Their friends weren't on an NDA and didn't know anything about the Beyond 2 at the time. And all of a sudden their eyes moved.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, aren't you using a Beyond? It's like, how did you get eye tracking?
No.
It's like, oh, I'm just testing something else. Yeah. It's like, oh, and you can actually, someone was, I think, recording this. So I have video footage of this happening. The hilarious part, and this goes to why eye tracking matters. The hilarious part is you can actually see the person like dodge their eyes off to the corner, and very quickly you can tell they're thinking like, what do I say here? Because I can't answer your question due to I'm testing a confidential device you don't know about. But you also saw my eyes move. It shouldn't have moved.
VRChat is a, without telling any stories, VRChat is a dangerous place to test hardware, especially hardware that supports novel input methods. That is not the only version of that story I've ever heard.
I think people try to claim like, oh, I'm using the Quest Pro right now. And like, your mic doesn't sound like the Quest Pro. It's a telltale sign.
Oh, people can, man, it's so detail oriented on that kind of stuff.
So when we got started with hardware, we want to make the best VR headset for big screen, people who want to watch movies and social VR, for sim racing enthusiasts or flight sim enthusiasts who want simulation games, whether that's American Truck Simulator or Microsoft Flight Simulator or Assetto Corsa. And we want to make the best VR headset for VRChat users. So what does it take to make the best headset for VRChat? What do you think that wish list looks like?
So we've talked a lot about how this is super subjective, but I'm going to give you the best version that I can from my perspective. First off, what you're aiming to design for is long sessions. Like you have engaged people that are going to something they don't want to leave, right? Like you're going to hang out with your friends, you're going to a house party, you're still at home. Why would I want to leave, right? So you want to aim for something that allows indefinite usage or dang close to it, and you want something that's comfortable. You're obviously going to be talking to people. You're going to be interacting with them. You want to hear them well. So good microphone, good audio output is also really important. And you don't want to have to worry about a battery, although you might want to. That is a challenge. This is where this diverges a little bit, right? Like if I'm sitting there just talking with someone, then I don't mind having a wire. If I'm dancing around, okay, wireless is kind of important. Let's see here. I think audio and the comfort are the top tier ones. Surprisingly, like optics and visual quality, they're important, but they're not hypercritical. Like a lot of people will be very focused on the fidelity of the experience and that kind of thing. It kind of doesn't matter. I know people that run at 20% render resolution just to get better frame rate, and they're just fine with it, and it's okay. But it helps. If you're exploring worlds, if you're that kind of person in VRChat, then, you know, screen quality, contrast ratio, that stuff is really important. Aside from that, let's see what else. Am I missing something? Is someone going to yell at me?
So that's, I think, the best part about this.
Yeah.
Your list is immediately going to trigger all these comments where people are like, no, you're wrong. Like, this is what actually matters, because it's so subjective.
Yeah. No matter what I say, no matter what I tell them, no matter what I tell you, I'm going to get something wrong from their perspective. You know, some people might say it's comfort based on, you know, the face cushion, or I want to have really good integrate, like I need face tracking, I need eye tracking. That's going to be the one, actually. That's what it is. I know, I can see the comments already. But I'm kind of making a mistake here because I'm tempering my own expectation. You just gave me a magic wand and I'm not telling you everything. And if I did have a magic wand, it would be like top tier, full face, full eye, eyebrow tracking, also very important. Amazing audio, like steal the off ears off of the index, the microphone also off of the index or the Beyond. Optics from the Beyond, I would say, eye tracking, face tracking, the Quest Pro, and weigh 100 grams. With optional either wireless or wired, and a pony, and a golden yacht.
Yep.
You know, all those things.
All right, so let's talk about what VRChat Worlds do you think look best in the Beyond, and you just have to check out. I think we earlier talked a little bit about Mochi's Worlds, and I feel like those are just stunning.
Mochi is so talented in a lot of different ways. They have, you know, they built shaders. They're a music producer. They are really good at just kind of visual art as well. But I think that was the big thing that, you know, when I first tried the Beyond one, I tried it out first and it just hit me like a train, how good it was just because of the screens. So that one I'm always going to recommend. Any of Mochi's Worlds, just look for the one that's just like a particle on a black background. Like, those are good.
And it was just incredible. Just like seeing the particles like fly around you.
Yeah, because it just comes out of nowhere.
And the persistence of OLED, like just how crystal clear everything felt. But I remember on Beyond 1, like you would see much more of the glare at times because there's so much contrast.
That is the worst case scenario for it.
I think Mochi's World sometimes are actually the bar for it. Like, how can we make this even better? Was often actually testing in Mochi's Worlds to find like, okay, like we got to get glare down even further. We got to get, you know, X or Y art.
It's a good torture test, actually.
It really is.
Point.
Yeah, I love it a lot, and it's also a torture test.
Yeah. I think in addition to that, audio orbs is just always going to be good. It's kind of Mochi's, you know, world, except you get to play your own music, you get to mess around with colors, and get to mess around with a lot of different parameters. So it's another one where the screens and the optics can just really come out to play and just hit you right across the face. And you can do it with your friends. You can play music for each other. You can, you know, put on some hardcore and make no friends at all, or something along those lines. But that... I would also say, again, talked about Dr. Morrow's Worlds. So those are just ones that are really going to work well with the comfort of the Beyond. You've got to explore those worlds for hours on end. There's tons of stuff to go and find. So that is the perfect headset to be using with that. And of course, you know, visual fidelity works out well. Ritual, Epilogue, lots of other worlds. Rituals, I believe, their latest one that's just really good. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing, but they should keep doing it.
I feel like some of my memorable ones end up being, aside from Mochi's worlds, when you look at, there was this world I went to that was out of Stray, if you played the game.
It's District Roboto.
Yes,
That's
District
by
Roboto was incredible because you have the full range of the vibrancy of all the colors, the sound. It's just gorgeous to explore and walk through, and it's huge.
Yeah.
So you have an enormous amount of time that you can just spend walking around everywhere.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff. I guarantee you that you didn't find everything in there. There's a couple of secrets.
Yeah.
But that world is by Fens, and it's definitely inspired by Stray. I don't think it's from Stray. They kind of made it on their own. But I very much like the vibe of Stray. Couldn't play it that much. It's a little distressing for me. I want to pet the cat, not get run the cat away from scary robots. Great game though. But District Roboto was a masterpiece by Fens. They've got several of them, and it is a great kind of testing ground for the Beyond for sure.
Yeah. So any other worlds to go over that?
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Flight Simulator Worlds. I'm especially a fan of Sachan's Flight Worlds. So anything with their system, in particular, Carrier Flight F-14, it's a wonderful mix of like Ace Combat accessibility, but then VTOL kind of immersion, and it's multiplayer, of course. So you can hop in and shoot down the screeching person that's wearing a quest, or whatever. That's often what I do. Or you just kind of chill out and hang out until someone shoots at you and you start shooting back. And with, again, it's very, I think I said this several times to both you and just on social media, it's super easy to check 6 with a headset on when it only weighs 100 some odd grams. Doing that with an index, you could cause problems.
Yep, you feel it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Tupper, thank you for coming by. It's been really great chatting about everything from VRChat to hardware and war stories, and really excited to get the VRChat edition into the hands of people in the next couple of months.
Well, we are too, and I appreciate the chance to come by, and as I am apparently good at Yap, but now this time on camera with my real self instead of, cute robot anime girl. So, it's a nice change.
Thanks for coming by.
Of course, thank you.
And that's the Bigscreen Beyond VRChat Edition. For those who already pre-ordered a Bigscreen Beyond 2, you can actually switch your order to the VRChat Edition if you want, just by emailing us at support@bigscreenvr.com. We're really excited to start shipping the Beyond 2 really soon, probably within days of this video coming out. Thanks for watching, and next, stay tuned for videos on eye tracking and all sorts of other interesting use cases of the Bigscreen Beyond 2.